Today you are going to learn second lesson. Your second lesson is the motions of the earth. In this lesson you are going to learn about rotation of the earth, revolution of the earth, varying length of days and nights, the change of seasons. You have already studied in your previous classes that the solar system has 8 planets which move around the sun in fixed paths. See, you know that the 8 planets in the solar system are Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. These 8 planets are revolves around the sun in its own orbit. Like other celestial bodies, the earth also moves in two ways, that is rotation and revolution. Rotation means the earth rotates in its own axis, that is known as rotation. The earth revolves around the sun is known as revolution. The moon and the earth are constantly in motion. That means the earth and the moon are revolves around in all time. First one, rotation of the earth. The movement of the earth on its axis from west to east is called a rotation. Axis. What is axis? Axis is an imaginary line that passes through the center of the earth and it joins North Pole and South Pole. The earth moves from west to east on its own axis. That is called the rotation of the earth. The earth takes 24 hours to complete one rotation. 24 hours we consider as a one day. The earth complete one rotation on its own imaginary axis at a speed of approximately 1670 km per hour. This is known as axis of the earth. The axis of the earth is not in upright position. The earth is tilted at an angle of 23.5 degree and its axis is inclined at an angle of 66.5 degree to the plane of its orbit in its journey around the sun. Means the axis of the earth, it is tilted at an angle of 23.5 degree. Tilted means move into the sloping position and its axis is inclined 66.5 degree to the plane of its orbit. The tilt of the earth affects the distribution of sunlight that the various parts of the earth receives. That means because of the tilted position of the earth, the sunlight receives differently in different parts of the earth. That is, the sun rays falls directly on the equator. This is the equator. Equator means the imaginary line that passes through the center of the earth and which divides the earth into two hemispheres, northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. When the sun rays falls directly on the equator, the places near the equator receives the receives the sun rays directly and the temperature will be very high. But In the polar regions, North Pole and South Pole, the sun rays that receives very less. So the polar region is covered with snow throughout the year. You know, why is the sun seen only during the day and the moon at night? When the earth faces the sun during its rotation, the energy from the sun gives us light and heat. When the earth faces away from the sun, it becomes dark and we see the moon in the sky. How are day and night caused? The rotation of the earth causes day and night. The part of the the parts of the earth that faces the sun receives sunlight and experiences daytime, while those not facing the sun experiences night. If it is in India, there is daytime, it would be night in America. One activity for you, please do it in your home. That is, take a globe or bowl and a torch. Shut the doors and windows of your room so that there is darkness. Illuminate the globe with the torch. The part which is lit signifies day, while the dark half signifies night. Do this activity. Circle of illumination. It is also known as Prakash Virtual. The line that separates the lighted from the darker half of the earth and joins the two poles is called the circle of illumination. Revolution of the earth. Apart from rotating on its axis, the earth also travels around the sun on a fixed path that is called orbit. This journey of the earth on its elliptical orbit is called a revolution. The earth takes 365 days to complete the revolution around the sun. This period is called a year. It revolves around the sun at a speed of approximately 1780 km per hour. The earth moves continuously on a fixed imaginary path called a orbit. This is called orbit. This orbit of the earth is not round but elliptical or oval shape. This is the reason why the distance between the earth and the sun same does not remain the same throughout the year. The moon revolves around the earth and the earth revolves around the sun. The earth makes at an angle of 23.5 degrees of its to its axis and 66.5 degrees to its orbit. The tilting of the earth on its axis causes the varying length of day and night and also change in seasons. Varying lengths of days and nights. The rays of the sun fall vertically on the Tropic of Cancer on 21st June and on the Tropic of Capricorn on 22nd December. Wherever the rays fall vertically, days are longer. Wherever they are slanting, days are shorter. The two tropics are in opposite hemispheres. You know that the earth is divided into two hemispheres, northern hemisphere and a southern hemisphere by the equator. Equator means the imaginary line that separates the earth into two equal halves, that is northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. And the important latitudes on earth. Latitude means the imaginary horizontal line on the earth. In the northern hemisphere, The important latitudes are Tropic of Cancer, Arctic Circle, and North Pole. And in the southern hemisphere, the Tropic of Capricorn, Antarctic Circle, and South Pole. Here, on 21st June, the sun rays falls directly on the Tropic of Cancer. That means on the northern hemisphere, where the days are longer. At the same time, in the southern hemisphere, the days are shorter because the sun rays falls slanting. The south pole receives no sunlight during this part of the orbit. On 22nd December, the sun rays falls directly on the Tropic of Capricorn. Trop- Tropic of Capricorn is in southern hemisphere. So the days are very long in the southern hemisphere while the days are short in the northern hemisphere because the sun rays falls in slanting. The North Pole receives no sunlight during this part of orbit. Earth rotates on its axis in the same direction while revolving around the Sun on its orbit. Due to this, the North Pole faces the Sun at a regular intervals. The rays of the Sun falls vertically either on north or on south of the equator. This causes variation in the lengths of days and nights. Next one, seasons. Those part of the earth which receives more sunlight experiences summer, while those that receives less sunlight experiences winter. The northern hemisphere experiences summer in the period of 21st March to 21st September, while it is in winter the southern hemisphere during that period. The change of season is a phenomenon that directly affects the human life. Equinox. Equinox is a phenomenon when the sun rays falls vertically on the equator and the length of day and night are equal everywhere. Here ends your second lesson. Thank you.